Welcome, everybody, to the Sheridan Report on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The Sheridan Report is brought to you by MyBookie.Ag. You can go to MyBookie.Ag and put in the promo code TGT50 to get up to a 50% cash bonus on your first deposit, up to $1,000. So if you put $2,000 in, you get an extra grand. You get $3,000 to play with. I am your host, co-host, whatever you want to call it, master of ceremonies.
Leader.
Screw it. From now on,
Leader.
I'm the master of ceremonies of this show, Mike Goodpasser, and I'd like to welcome in from the Sheridan Report, Bobby Sheridan. How you doing, Bobby?
Hey, I'm doing great. I just coming off of the Survive and Advance show where we talked NBA first-round matchups. So if any of our fans of this show, didn't catch that, you can go back and get that on the podcast. There was some pretty good talk about each series, and we'll go more in depth with that stuff tomorrow on our show, Mike, because I have a couple good first game matchups that I really want to let the fans know about, and we can go over some NBA more in depth tomorrow.
All right, guys, so let's just go ahead and we'll start off with Major League Baseball today. Bobby, what do you got? I know you had a big night last night. We're going to make it 2 in a row?
We are, and, everything we gave out on the air yesterday was a winner. We wound up doing really well with what we kind of termed, you and I, mix and match. Our initial 3-team parlay went down, when the Dodgers got upset. But what we had left was the Red Sox, and we mentioned that, and we had 2 top plays left. And both top plays were in the evening yesterday, and we gave both of those out. And so what you and I did personally, and we urged the listeners to take a look at this. We mixed and matched. We took the 2 top plays, and there was one game left with the 3-teamer. That was the Red Sox, and we built a new 3-teamer, and that sucker paid 6-1. So I was really pleased with that, and we got some money back on Boston, who had burned us a couple times. So that was nice, and I was real happy for the Giants to win a ball game last night. That was a really good ball game, and you don't see a lot of 1-0 games anymore, and I enjoyed that. And so we're going to try to roll that right into today. And all of today's action is this evening. There's only one day game, and that's at Wrigley Field. And that's the Angels without Trout are going to Chicago, and there's no play there for us. But the nighttime, we do have some good plays, Mike. And let me first go over the 3-team parlay. This
all
one
right.
pays a little over 4-1. Yeah, this one pays a little over 4-1, and it'll be 3 favorites. And we got the Nationals at 4:05. This is Pacific time. The Rays also at 4:05, 4:07 exactly, and the Padres. The Padres at 6:40. We're going to try to get another one. Well, we didn't have the Padres last night, but the Padres will try to get another one in Arizona tonight. And they're sending their young, the Padres are getting some good contributions, not only from their star players, which Machado, Hosmer, and things like that, but, this young Tatis has come up. And then they have a couple of pitchers, kid that got the save last night, Winginter is his name, and then the starting pitcher last night, and then today's starting pitcher, Chris Paddock. These are young guys that are coming out of the system that are already winning, and so the Padres got some good stuff going, and they're leading the West early on, and we have them in our 3-teamer tonight. We're going to need them tonight if we're going to hit this thing, and that's assuming the Nationals and Rays get it done. It'll all be going to the Padres. That pays a little over 4-1, and then Mike, we've got 3 straight plays and 1 top play on the card tonight. And the 3 straight plays, and I'll save the top play for last. So we got the Marlins at plus 157, which I think that's down a bit now. That might be in the 140s over the Phillies. And the basic premise there is I really like the price, and I like the pitching matchup. Alcantara has got just a tremendous arm, really good stuff. And remember we mentioned the Marlins. We're going to want to be on them in certain spots when we like the matchup, when it's inter-division, when they're playing divisional opponents, because they're going to be up and ready for these games, and they're going to be a big spoiler. They're going to probably determine who wins that division based on how well they play against each of the other teams that are vying for that title. And so I think the Marlins are in a good spot tonight to upset the Phillies, and so does some of the players, because that line has come down a bit. Then another one would be the Royals tonight, and I really like this matchup as well. And they've burned some of our money at home, but maybe they'll go on the road and get a little bit of that back. I like their starting pitcher tonight, Keller. He is their ace, and he was a rookie last year and won 12 games on a bad team. So I think he'll pitch really well and give them a chance tonight over Cleveland. And I may be wrong. Let me double check that. Are they on the road or are they still at home, Mike?
Who's that, the Royals?
The Royals are at home.
Yeah.
The
Royals are at home against the Cleveland Indians tonight.
Yeah. So I it's spoken wrong. Yeah. That's what I think of that matchup. Now look at that. That was a mistake of mine, but only because I thought Keller at plus 137 on the road would not be bad value.
He's plus 140 on MyBookie.
Yeah, plus 140, and this is home. So you know what? They've got a big shot in this game. You know that could be close to a top play, but it's not because Kansas City's not winning games right now. But it's a good spot for them to win tonight. And then the top play, and it will not surprise any of you loyal listeners or any of my loyal subscribers. The New York Mets are on a mission this year, and it's you talk about a team that's improved. Look at the additions that they've got in their lineup. J.D. Davidson. Look at this Pete Alonso, who hit the hardest ball hit in the major league so far, 118 miles an hour, 450 feet to dead center. The trade for Robinson Cano, the shortstop won in the game yesterday, Ahmed Rosario. He made a great play over the middle, and then he gets the bat and hits a 3-run homer. That's 4 names: Brandon Nimmo, McNeil. This is a great team. They pick up Wilson Ramos. Then at the back end of the bullpen, they got the best closer in the game. He gets the save last night. He blows away Freeman with the first and second and 2 outs, a tying run, and blows him away. And he's the best closer in the game. And we know they have a starting rotation that includes DeGrom and Syndergaard and Matz last night. And don't forget tonight's pitcher, Zach Wheeler. So this is a great team, Mike. This is a team that I think is going to win that division. And they're starting out with so many of divisional games. They came out of spring training ready to go because they had to be. I believe 18 of their first 20, something like that, games of the year are against interdivision. So here we go again, another game, another series in Atlanta. They took game 1, and they've got a great shot to take game 2. So back with the Mets tonight as a top play.
All right, Bobby. We got anywhere else we want to go here?
We're talking basketball tomorrow on our show, and if you want to get a little heads up on some of that, go to the Survive and Advance show that's already on podcast on thegruelingtruth.com, and you can pick up some of that talk. But just on our show today, I want to just hit a quick blurb because the early risers are in full force, and we've got 7 selections today, and there's only 1 left, and I'll give that to you. But just a quick recap, we've already split 2 of our first 3 tennis matchups, and makes us a winner because we had a plus 140 with Paire, Paire. He defeated Munar this morning at plus 140. So we lost Sonego, but that's okay. We've already made the juice there. And so we bet the same amounts on every match. And we've got 1 more to go, and that's Granolers. This is a 1 o'clock Pacific approximate time. So you've still got time on this, 4 Eastern roughly. Granolers over Rude. This is a matchup of 2 players that can win this tournament. I like the price on Granolers, and he's yet to lose a set in the tournament thus far. And so he's taking on Rude, who has a big win. He beat Riley Opelka, in a 3-set classic match just last 2 days ago. But I may have taken a little bit out of him, and this is a different style of player he's playing today. And we like Granolers a lot in this spot. So plus 135, Granolers in the Clay Court Championships that are being played in Houston. In the Masters, we have 4 matchups that are currently going, and I won't go over all those, but we have 4 matchups that are going, and you can get all these if you purchase the report the night before or the morning of. They're always posted on there. This is the Early Risers Club that makes money. So we're 1-1 with 5 matchups left.
All right, Bobby, is that it?
That's it, Mike. We're done.
All right.
Done for today, then.
We are going to go ahead and catch a word from our sponsor, MyBookie.Ag. We'll be back to talk a little Frank Robinson in 1988 right after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Goodpasser from the Grueling Truth Sports Network, and I'm here with just one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money. The Grueling Truth has recently partnered with MyBookie.Ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website, who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on, and that's why the Grueling Truth urges you to check out MyBookie.Ag. In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on MyBookie.Ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now and MyBookie will give you up to a free $1,000 cash bonus on your first deposit. Just enter promo code TGT50, that's TGT50, to take advantage of this offer. You can also go to thegruelingtruth.net, click the banner at the top of the page for MyBookie.Ag, and also get the same benefit and the same $1,000 free cash bonus on your first deposit. So visit MyBookie.Ag, courtesy of the Grueling Truth, and enjoy winning today. MyBookie.Ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, guys, we're back to the Sheridan Report. I'm Mike Goodpaster, the Master of Ceremonies, with my co-host, Co-Master of Ceremonies, Bobby Sheridan. Bobby, what are we talking about today?
Well, before we go to on this day, I want to mention, just because it's relevant, the Masters, and there's a lot of golf fans out there. Molinari, Francisco, I believe is his first name, but Molinari was a TSR selection to win the tournament at 21-1, and he's leading the tournament, Mike. He's at negative -7 right now, a 2-shot lead over 3 or 4 guys. And, in this, it's early, and it may not mean a whole lot, but what it means is our 21-1 shot, Molinari, we did pick 3 golfers. We picked Molinari at 21-1, Fowler at 16.5-1, and Schauffele at 35-1. We're trying to hit one of those, and Molinari's got the lead, so good for him. And on this day, all right, here we go. 1988, Frank Robinson, I'm trying to find it. He replaced Cal Ripken Sr. as manager of the Baltimore Orioles on this day, 1988.
Yeah, and he was, if you remember, the first black manager. I think he was the player manager or player coach, wasn't he, for the Cleveland Indians back in the mid-'70s?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
right.
And then he went on to manage the Giants 1981. He got fired like 2/3 of the way through the season or halfway through the season in 1984. The interesting thing about him was he finished the 84 season as the Milwaukee Brewers hitting coach on a contract worth $1. So you can tell what everybody thought of his managerial and coaching skills. 1985, he joined the Orioles front office, which led to him being named the manager in 88. And really, his most successful season as a manager, I think there's no doubt, is 1989, because that 88 Orioles team was the worst team in baseball. I think they lost over 100 games. In 1989, he ended up going 87-75, was named the manager of the year. And what I remember about that was they played a 3-game series at Toronto at the Old Sky Dome right before the end of the season. Last 3 games, they go into the series tied, and I think they lost that Friday night game in extra innings on a walk-off home run, or they tied it. I'm not sure. They ended up on that Saturday afternoon Major League Baseball game of the week on national TV, and the Orioles fell to Toronto. Of course, Toronto went on to lose in the American League Championship Series to the Oakland A's with the Bash brothers.
Right.
Who then went on to win the World Series over the Giants, and that was a shaky series. Had an earthquake, so it was a little play on words.
That's right.
So Robinson, then I think he managed the Orioles through 91, where he got fired. And then he became the manager of the Montreal Expos, 2002. 02, 03, 04, he was with the Expos. And 02 and 03, the Expos were 83-79 both seasons. And 2004, they slumped and lost close to 100 games. And of course, they moved to Washington. He's the first manager there. The interesting thing about him, when you look him up, is at a June 2005 Sports Illustrated poll of 450 Major League Baseball players, Robinson was selected the worst manager in baseball, along with Buck Showalter, who was then the manager of the Texas Rangers. And in the same poll the next year, he was voted by himself as the worst manager in baseball.
He may have not been a good manager, Mike, and I agree with those polls, but he was a hell of a player. And we talked about that, on The Grueling Truth when he passed away recently, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a great player. And not a great manager. And what I remember is the stare down he had. I think it was at Dodger Stadium. It was, not there, but I remember watching the ESPN highlights of this, and he got into it with a home plate umpire, and they must have had a pass because neither one of them would look away. So they stared each other down for like 30 seconds, which is like an eternity when you're watching this happen. And he wouldn't back down. I think the umpire finally turned and went back behind the box. Frank Robinson was not going to lose that stare down. And he was a tough guy, and don't know what his shortcomings were as a manager, maybe just because he was a great player, and a lot of those guys don't know how to manage. But on this day, Cal Ripken Sr., he replaced him. And going back to Cal Ripken Sr., what are your thoughts on him, Mike? What do you think about that?
His sperm was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he ended up with Cal Ripken Jr. out of it. Real quick with Robinson.
Yeah.
Something I did not know. Did you know this, Bobby? His jersey is retired by the Cleveland Indians, the Cincinnati Reds, and the Baltimore Orioles.
I knew that it was retired by the Orioles. I did not realize that also Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Well, Cincinnati's where he had the best part of his career.
Where it all started. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, so don't ever rip the Reds. Don't come at me with that ripping on the Reds crap. I don't need that.
No.
But yeah, Cal Ripken
sure.
Sr., can't say he was a bad manager. I mean, he did win a World Series with the Orioles. He took the Orioles to the World Series. He was a coach for both of those teams. He was only the manager in 87 and 88. So he was a successful coach because if you remember 79, they beat the Angels in the ALCS, and then they lost in 7 games to Pittsburgh. 83, they won the World Series over Philadelphia. So he he spent some time under Joe Malfitano that was the... Am I saying
83.
that wrong? The 83 manager, yeah.
Yeah, see, what happened was he was third base coach for Weaver, and he was, Weaver had won 1 World Series, but lost 3, I believe.
Yeah, and Weaver wasn't there at 83. It was, who was that?
No,
I know it was Joe
stepped
something.
Down. I think it might be a Malfitano. I think you might be right. I'm not looking anything up, but I think that sounds right. But I know Weaver stepped down after 82. So the next year, they win it. Well, Cal Ripken Sr. remained on the coaching staff for the next coach and next manager, and stayed through 88, 87, 88. He was actually the manager. And remember, his son, Cal Ripken Jr., came up in 82.
Yeah.
So he won it his second year, 83, but Weaver had stepped down. And, that was about time for Earl Weaver to step down, and no doubt about that. And replacing Ripken Sr. with Frank Robinson wasn't the right move, and they didn't do a whole lot of things right and haven't done a whole lot of things right for a long time.
Yeah, and I think Cal Ripken Sr., I don't think ever played in the major leagues. I think he was a lifer in the minor leagues. Then he managed in the minor leagues before he got the job with the Orioles in 1976. Got to coach his son in 81. I remember I got the Donruss Cal Ripken rookie card. Because that was the same year that Tim Raines was a rookie, too.
That's right. Do you have one of those cards, Mike?
I do somewhere in a box somewhere. But I got a Tim Raines, too, which at one point the Tim Raines was worth a lot of money. It's really devalued.
Right. The whole process, the whole deal has. But some of those cards have still maintained some pretty good value. And I think Ripken...
Okay, I looked it up. Joe Altobelli.
Oh, Altobelli, not a Malfitano. That's right. Malfitano was a Dodger coach for Lasorda. That's right. Altobelli. It just sounded right. I mean,
I knew it was Joe something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And he got to, and this is the interesting thing. Altobelli was fired in '85, and Ripken got his chance to manage, but it was only for 1 game. And then Earl Weaver came out of retirement June 14th, 1985.
Oh, wow. And how long did he stay? I didn't remember that.
Oh, Weaver or Ripken?
Weaver.
Oh, he would have stayed through 80, when Robinson
Well, until
took
Ripken
over.
Sr. got it, right?
Yeah, so that would have been 87. So, yeah. Earl Weaver retired at the end of the 1986 season.
So look what that organization was doing. They were completely in the past. I mean, they go. Weaver comes back for half a year or a year, then they replace him with Cal Senior, then they replace him with Frank Robinson. I mean, this was an organization that was just completely living in the past.
Well, and you got to ask why Altobelli. I don't remember what happened there, but you got to ask why Altobelli, who won it all in '83, is fired by the time you get partway through '85.
Yeah, this is
and
weird.
My guess is it's because Earl Weaver called him and said, "Hey, I want to manage again."
You know what? You're probably right, and that's just garbage right there. But and they finally did turn it around at some point. They had Roberto Alomar, and they had that group that won games and did make the playoffs, but they never got back to the World Series. And then Buck Showalter came in, correct, and just left. He's just out of there now. And Buck Showalter did a great job.
Yeah, they made the playoffs a couple years ago, and then, of course, blew the team up immediately like most smaller markets do.
Right. So that's an interesting organization, and they're going through it again now. We're there.
Hey, and I would like to bring up before we get off here, the Toronto Maple Leafs won last night, and I think we did tell people to be on that.
Hey, Mike, I forgot about that, and we didn't forget about it yesterday. That's for darn sure. You and I talked about it, and the Grilling Truth listeners, they sure heard it for 2 days. They're a live underdog in this series. And
they're going to win the series now. I mean, what's the line on the series right now?
Let me double check that. Go ahead and talk for a few minutes while I'm pulling that up, Mike.
A few minutes? I got to talk about this for a few minutes? They only played one game.
Excuse me, just a few seconds, unless you want to wait for me. I need to log in. It logged me out. But, yeah, that was a great job that they did pulling off the game one. And we talked about that. You said, Bobby, do we wait or do you want to go right in? And I said, no. I mean, my style is if we have a take where a team's gonna be huge in the series and has a shot, then let's just go game one, and then we can make a decision on game two. From there we can just keep our winnings, or we can, make another bet. And so, all right, here's what we got there, Mike. Tomorrow they play game two, and the Bruins are -145, and the Maple Leafs are +125. So it's about the same exact line that we just had. Now the updated series price is you're right, Mike. Toronto is now favored. That has now flipped the odds completely. Toronto is now favored 165 if you're going to bet it right now today. Boston Bruins are +145. So that win yesterday in game one completely flipped the odds, and the Maple Leafs are now favored to win it.
Yeah, and when they get back to Maple Leaf Gardens, everything will be fine. So, and I would like to apologize for saying they were going back to Maple Leaf Gardens, but what you have to realize with me is the reason we do on this day is because I still live in the past. It's hilarious. I mean, I still think the Montreal Canadiens play at the Forum, and the New York Rangers play at the original Madison Square Garden. So I would like to apologize to that. But if you're a Maple Leaf fan, the new place might be awesome, but wouldn't it be cool if they could go back and play at Maple Leaf Gardens?
Yeah. Well, and you do know the Celtics are not at the Garden anymore. They're at the TV Center.
Yeah, because actually on the NBA show today, I had to bring it up to Steve Risley.
That's right.
So Steve still lives in the past like I do. So
Yeah. Well, hey, we don't live in the past giving out information, Mike. Everything we gave out yesterday was spot on, and I'm glad you brought up this Maple Leafs because that was a nice win for them yesterday, and they won it fairly easily, they won
it easy. And the thing is this, I think usually when you get upsets in these series, you can split either way you want, but it seems to me like game one is the easiest one to get for an underdog coming in. I mean, look at Columbus going into Tampa Bay, down 3-0, win game one. Now the question is, how does Tampa Bay respond? And we don't know, because not many teams have been that big of a favorite in a series, had a 3-0 lead, and just kind of squandered it. And when I look at it tonight, I do have a parlay of three teams tonight.
Yeah, you've got a 3-team parlay that you are liking, and let's see what is it, Mike?
I've got the Vegas Golden Knights, who are +110. I got the Lightning, are -275, but I'm pretty sure that Columbus isn't going to go win in 2 in Tampa Bay. So I just kind of added it in with 2 small dogs. The other small dog is the Islanders, who I think the Islanders and Pens are pretty even. I think the Pens are going to win that series in 5 or 6, but I think this is the game that the Islanders, if they're going to stay in the series, have to win. So at +110, if you combine the 2+110s and the Golden Knights, who I think the Golden Knights and Sharks are going 7, so it makes sense to me that the Golden Knights pull this one off. I think when you do that with the 2+110s and the +275, I mean, you're getting 5-1 odds.
Right. Yeah. The -275 with the two
that's
two
what I
plus
meant.
110.
Yeah.
Right. You get 5-1, and that's really close to what our MLB parlay paid last night, which was 6-1. So I'm going to follow you, Mike. I'm going to put a little bit on that.
I just put a little bit. I just put like $10 on it just for the hell of it. And if I'm right, then you'll probably hear us start talking more about betting hockey. But it makes sense to me because I think with the Knights and the Islanders, those are two pretty evenly matched series, and they lost game 1 at home. And I think with the Lightning I think are better than Columbus. And I thought Columbus would win 1, maybe 2 games in this series, so it makes sense to me to stay off of Columbus tonight. So I think there's a shot to pull this off.
All right. Well, I do too. I believe in you, Mike. So I'm gonna piggyback that a little bit, and we'll talk tomorrow on our show.
Well, we'll talk about it if it works. If it doesn't, we'll just act like it never happened. I'm kidding. Let's see. All right, guys. Also, tell them about the handicappers report.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the handicapping guide is a horse racing tout sheet. It's a numbers sheet. It kind of takes the day's races from whichever particular track that you purchase or that you go to or that you follow on TVG Network, and it gives numbers, ranking system for each race. And he's an older guy that's kind of years of handicapping experience and factors. He's kind of formulated into a system now that it spits out numbers on the races, and he does a good job, and he's really successful. He's hit pick sixes in the past, and he does a nice job with his business. And they are a sponsor of the GrillingTruth.com and the handicappingguide.com. The handicappingguide.com is the website, and you can see it. You can find it on the GrillingTruth.com website. There's a little down there. Scroll down a little ways. You'll see a THG, the handicapping guy. You'll see a little box that you can click on there. It'll take you right to it, right through the GrillingTruth.com website.
All right, Bobby. We're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap the show up. Remember, the SheridanReport.com. $10 a day, $50 a month. Get you all Bobby's picks. And you'll have them the night before or real early in the morning, like 2 or 3 early in the morning Eastern time, so you don't miss out on making any of the games, betting any of the games. You can use that at MyBookie.Ag, where you can get up to $1,000 cash bonus on your first deposit if you go through the GrillingTruth.com. All right, we're going to wrap it up. I want to remind everybody you can hear all our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you find sports podcasts. You'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Bobby Sheridan, I'm Mike Goodpasture. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.